जय गोपीजनवल्लभ जगदाधारी
यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन
यशोदानन्दन
जमुनतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुञ्जविहारी
जय राधा माधव कुञ्जविहारी
जय गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
जय गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
यशोदनन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन
यशोदानन्दन
जमुनतीरावनचारी
यमुनातीरावनचारी
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा
जय प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा
नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल
नित्य गौर
हरि बोल
नित्य
हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल।
जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय ग्रंथ श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
भगवते वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यां
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
ततो जयमुदीरये
ततो मुदीरये
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यभागवतसेवया
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भगवती उत्तम श्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter number 5, text number 24. Te mai apeta akhila chapale arbake dante atrata kridanke
क्रीडानके
anuvartini chakruhu kripam yadyapi tulyadarshanaha
तुल्यदर्शनः
शुश्रूषमने
शुश्रूषमाणे
मुनयः अल्पभाषिणी
अल्पभाषिणी
ते मयि अपेताखिला चापले अर्भके
ते मयि अपते किला चापले अर्भ
दान्ते अद्रता क्रीडान्के अनुवर्तिनी
दान्ते धृता क्रीडानके अनुवर्तिनि
चक्रुः कृपां यद् तुल्यादर्शनः
चक्रुः कृपां यद्यपि तुल्यदर्शनः
शुश्रूषमाणे मुनयः अल्पभाषिणी
शुश्रूषमाणे मुनयो अल्पभाषिणी.
Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Although they were impartial by nature, those followers of Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled and had no attachment for sports. Even though I was a boy, in addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required. Purport: In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, all the Vedas are searching after me. Lord Sri Chaitanya says that in the Vedas, the subject matter are only three, namely to establish the relation of the living entities with the personality of God, perform the relative duties in devotion service, and thus achieve the ultimate goal back to Godhead. As such, Vedantavadis or the followers of the Vedanta indicate the pure devotees of the personality of Godhead. Such Vedantis or the Bhakti Vedantas are impartial in distributing the transcendental knowledge of the devotional service. To them, no one is an enemy or a friend. No one is educated or uneducated. No one is especially favorable and no one is unfavorable. The Bhakti Vedanta see that the people in general are wasting time in false sensuous things. Thus, their business is to get the ignorant mass of people to re-establish the lost relationship with the personality of God. By such endeavor, even the most forgotten soul is roused up to the sense of spiritual life, and thus being initiated by the Bhakti Vedantas, the people in general gradually progress on the path of transcendental realization. So the Vedantavadis initiated the boy even before he became self-controlled and was detached from childish sportings, etc. But before the initiation, the boy, became more and more advanced in discipline, which is very essential for one who wishes to make progress in the line. In the system of Varnashrama Dharma, which is the beginning of actual human life, small boys after 5 years of age are sent to become brahmacharis at the Guru's ashram, where these things are systematically taught to even boy, be he a king's son or the son of an ordinary citizen. The training was compulsory not only to create good citizens of the state, but also to prepare the boy's future for spiritual realization. The irresponsible life of sense enjoyment was unknown to the children of the followers of the Varnashrama system. A boy was even injected with spiritual acumen before being placed by the father in the womb of the mother. Both the father and the mother were responsible for the boy's success in being liberated from the material bondage. That is the process of successful family planning. It is to beget children for complete perfection. Without being self-controlled, without being disciplined, and without being fully obedient, no one can become successful in following the instructions of the spiritual master, and without doing so, no one is able to go back to Godhead. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamilyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpadarvesta Pasinde Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanami Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharani Nirvishesha, Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarani, Mukam Karati Vachalam, Bangal Langayatagire, Yet Kripatam Mande Shri Gurum Nitarana, Paramanand Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Nilachala Nivasa Nityaya Pramatmane Valabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannatha Namo Namaha. So Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter number 5, text number 24. This is in discussion with Vyasadeva. Narada Rishi is trying to convey a very important message of what he was in the last life. Here, the translation reads that although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their costless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled. I had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required. So this is a very powerful verse, and this is a very powerful definition of what it takes to be a spiritual master. See, in the olden days, as Prabhupada explains here, that the Gurukul system was very much strongly presented and it was established. Somehow or the other, unfortunately, in this Kali Yuga, even though at this point of time, even though we see a lot of Gurukuls, there are some activities which are definitely happening towards what the Varnashrama system has defined. Varna and Ashrama, as the Lord himself defines, Chaturvarna Maya Shishta Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. So there are 4 Varnas and 4 Ashrams which are already known, which is defined very clearly. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grahastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasi. In Sannyasi, you have much more further divisions like Kutichaka, Baudaka, Parivajakacharya and Paramahamsas. So these kind of situations are being created for the well-being of the society. And it was very, very evident and clearly defined by Lord Sri Chaitanya that the entire concept of all these things is to establish that relationship of the living entities to be with the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. That's the priority number 1. The second priority is to perform the relative duties in accordance with the devotional service. That's the second priority. The third one is, thus by doing the first one and the second one, ultimately you are achieving the goal, going back home, back to Godhead. So if you notice that these kind of fantastic informations are being spread all across the entire revealed scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all these complete wonderful scriptures are giving us this kind of an inspiration. It's giving a kind of enthusiasm to that extent that yes, it is possible for me being a Grihastha and following whatever I could at my own space, at my own power, which is being given by the Supreme Lord, in spite of so many different variations of being bombarded onto me, right? We don't get time from Saturdays. Saturday is the only day, probably little bit of time here and there, but we are running behind something else on that day. And Sunday we get some time. But somehow or the other, by Krishna's grace, that we are able to stay put together and at least coming to the Sunday morning program, hearing some Bhagavad Gita, chanting the holy names of the Lord, doing Guru Puja, doing the Samsaradava prayers and chanting together. So this is a fantastic arrangement being done so that our spiritual practice is not just deterred. It's not being thrown out of box. We are still connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead through this process by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. So if you notice that the Lord himself is saying that all the Vedas I am being searched for, right? Why are we all searching for that? Because happiness is always eternal. It's not something which is phantasmagoria. It's not something very short period. It's an eternal bliss, Sat Chit and Ananda. So Lord Chaitanya wants all of us to become conscious about that and try to establish that relationship with the Supreme Lord and continue to do our duties as what we are, either with grihasthas or brahmacharis, or as a student, or as a householder, or as a office goer. We still have to do that duty. We cannot just escape it off. Krishna never says that you leave everything and run to the Himalayas. No, he is also a grihastha. He himself doesn't want that kind of a situation to happen. What is Krishna asking us? Just to simply keep him in the center of our activities. And naturally, that kind of information can be given to us only by these wonderful, great sages, great Bhakti Vedantis, right? This is a very clear indication that we need someone who can guide us to the spiritual practice. Here, Narada Rishi is a simple maid servant's son. Prabhupada explains in the last verse that he doesn't even know who his father is, right? So, but the fact is that now he is Narada Rishi, the eternal spaceman. That itself means what a amazing transformation he has come through. He has come to such an extent where every devotee in the world takes inspiration from Narada Rishi. Without the blessings of Narada Rishi, we can't even go further to even connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Here, the Bhakti Vedantis are completely equipoised. They are not bothered about whether you are a man or a woman or of a different caste and a creed. No, they don't have anyone, whether you are, they are not bothered about whether you are educated or uneducated. They don't have any enemies, right? Gita explains that, right? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmane Gani Gavi Astine, Suni Chaivas Pakejas, Pandita Samadarshana. These are Panditas, Brahmanas. Their thought process is only to give that message of God. Whatever Lord Chaitanya's message is, what is they are trying to convey. Since that is the process and procedure which they have been following it on a conscious basis, because they know that the entire population is only running behind false happiness. And they are looking at kind of something which is of a temporal in its nature. So then their only business is to make sure that these ignorant set of people who are running around here and there. Like, for example, Jesus was asked, what is there in the give us furthermore details when people are asking. And Jesus said that you are not yet ready. You are cowards and shepherds. And your details, I can give more and more about the heavens. Lots of information are there, but still you are not yet ready for that. Because the consciousness level was very low at that time. Whatever he could absorb it, and he could put it in a very simple terms and put it in a set of testaments or some details about in Bible. But in the same way, Prabhupada is now, even though he is called A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Abhay Charanaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada is giving the same information what we need to understand to establish that relationship, to be very conscious about our activities, which can be done and dovetailed in Krishna's service, and then go back home, back to God. We are so blessed that at least we have got someone who is ready here to guide us back to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. But one thing we have to understand here is that to practice Krishna consciousness, to practice a devotional life, and to become more sober in our dealings, we also have to have discipline. Without discipline, no one has achieved anything in this world, right? The Olympic sports is there, or any other big sports which happens once in 4 years, 5 years kind of thing. The athletes, their focus center is not for the immediate requirements. They are looking at how do I run in such a manner that I am in that 1 to 10 lineup, not even winning a gold or a silver, but that's their extent of focus. So imagine as devotees, how much focus centered we must be, right? Here, Narada Rishi, even before initiation, he was so advanced in discipline. He was simply serving the Bhaktivedantas, which is very essential for one to make a progress in the spiritual path, right? Without being in self-control, without being disciplined, without being fully obedient. Prabhupada explains that no one can become successful in following the instructions of the spiritual master. Without doing so, no one is able to go to back to garden. It's simply not possible. So this is very, very important for all of us. And this practice, we need to continue to do so as much as possible, as continuous as possible. When we do this on a very regular fashion, right, we have to take that initiative, that internal conflict between the good and the bad, or internal conflict between what should I do now or what should I procrastinate it later. That is something which is being given to us by the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. We have to take that free will activity and connect with the Supreme Lord. So Narada Rishi mentions that, right? What does he say is that he is not talkative at all. He's not a chatterbox. He knows what to talk, what not to talk. He was not talking too much. He was talking only necessary for his spiritual practice. And that which is not needed unnecessarily, which we call as prajalpa, or something which is not needed for our spiritual advancement, Narada Rishi never did that. So then automatically you can see that growth. Prabhupada explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam lecture, when he gave in Sri Vrindavan Dham about this. Great devotees have achieved great success only by controlling their tongue, right? That is why in the Nectar of Instruction, the first verse is Vacho Vega Manasa Krodho Vega. If you mind your tongue, 99.99% all other problems are solved. We don't talk anything further. We speak only what is entitled, what is completely necessary, so that we don't force ourselves to talk what is not. We can actually take some kind of a vow. Let me talk only which is related to Krishna consciousness or Krishna conscious topics and get progress in my spiritual path. I don't need to discuss anything and everything, because this entire world is anyway temporary. And the information which is going to come to you is only going to be temporary. The newspaper is temporary. Today's news is obsolete for tomorrow. Tomorrow's news is going to be something which is going to be the same as what is today. What is it? The news is going to come? 3 newses. 100 people died in earthquake. 200 people died in a landslide. 400 people missing in action because of a war. Is it going to change? No. It's the same information. They are giving it in different places, in different areas. Right? Why? Because this world is like that. Dukkhalayam ashashratam. What do you expect? Sukhalayam here? No. Impossible. It's just not possible. Prabhupada says you are trying to create a castle on air. It's a phantasmagoria. Prabhupada says this Akasha Pushpa. Right? Where is the question of a flower in the sky? It's not a possibility at all. So in the same way, this world is created for us to realize, recollect ourselves that no, I'm not in this plane. I'm not in this path. I should not be here. I'm stuck here in this body. Somehow or the other, I need to overcome this kind of a challenging situation. So I need to understand this is very, very important for me. I need to overcome this. And somehow or the other, by Krishna's grace, somehow or the other, by Krishna's grace and his representatives, Srila Prabhupada, I'm able to come to this level where I can practice Krishna consciousness. I will be able to when I'm with the devotees. Right? Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Hoy, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. If we are with the devotees, we are very safe. The moment we decide that we don't want to be with the devotees or somewhere or other, I can do it myself on my independent level, then we have a big challenge. We have such a big challenge that we will not be able to overcome that kind of an effort being put on us. Material energy is powerful. Mama Maya Durateya. It is absolutely not possible to overcome the energy which material energy puts on us. So unless until we take shelter at the lotus feet of the devotees, take the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. That is what Lord Chaitanya wants us. Moment we have this practice in place, right? We have to chant, we have to read, we have to be taking Krishna Prasadam, we have to associate with devotees, we have to go to the Holy Dham. All these things are very naturally being defined to us to become Krishna conscious all the time. That is why Nectar of Instruction kind of books are very, very powerful. because those instructions which are given to us by Rupa Goswami are completely pure vidhis and nisheds, rules and prohibitions, do's and don'ts, right? These do's and don'ts are so powerful. It has to be somehow or the other we need to practice that. Somehow or the other we need to learn that what is good for me, favorable. Take that which is favorable. Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Bhakti Ruttamam. You have to take that and you have to relinquish that which is definitely not favorable. And this way by which we can practice this, exactly the same practice which Narada Rishi did, which he is trying to explain, right? He's beautifully explaining this to Vyasdev, that he was very, very conscious as a boy. He was not flirting out on the sporting activities. Now, if you go sit next to a computer, go sit next to a TV, go outside and you see in the billboard, the only way by which you are being focused is to go away from Krishna, never to forget Krishna. Here is a situation you are pushed off in such a situation that you don't have a choice. You are forced to be away from Krishna, forced to be away from the devotees. So how much of challenging situation we are going through? One, we don't have much time. Second one is because of so many social media influences, we are being pulled and pulled and pulled away from the Supreme Lord's lotus feet, not able to get anything which is needed for us. On top of it, we have the three kleshas, Adhyatmika, Adhibhotika, Adhidevika, right? On top of it, we also have our challenges with what we need to deal with at the immediate requirements. So it's not easy to practice Krishna consciousness. It is not easy to do anything which is related to spiritual practice and growth. Only by the costless grace of this Bhakti Vedantas, like Srila Prabhupada, right? We have slowly been elevated to that extent where we are sitting and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, right? These Bhagavatams were never even exposed to the common class of people. Now Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is all being exposed to us, that we can sit in our own house and read that, relish it, understand it, and absorb it, right? By doing so, then Krishna is very kind to us that he is guaranteeing us that we will leave this world and go back to his abode, which is eternal, Sukhalayam, eternally present, right? That is why he always pushes this point, right? Krishna is equally distributed, whether it is, he is not, even though he is a little partial to the devotees, but even though he is always caring and loving, and as the Gita explains that Samaham Sarva Bhuteshu, he is equally distributed to everyone. He doesn't bother, as you say, just like the Bhakti Vedantas, he doesn't bother. The sun's rays is going to be the same, whether it is or it's the rain falling, whether it's the sea which is falling or the land which is falling, equally distributed. Sun's rays is the same. It's going to give it to everyone in an equally distributed manner. In the same way, these devotees are the ones who are equally distributing that message to us, that consciousness to us, that love to us, that we need to learn the art of connecting with the Supreme Personality of God. That can happen by chanting the holy names of God. So that is why we have to be very, very important. Our focus center should service, be only in service of the Supreme Lord, because Krishna says in the Bhakti Rasamrita, in the Rupa Goswami explains that Sevan Mukhe Jigvado Swayam Eva Spurati Ada. So you have to connect only by service. Only by service we can connect, and we can automatically slowly become more conscious. Moment you become conscious, you will become grave. You will not be bothered with any unnecessary engagement. You are not interested in many activities which is actually going to entangle you, and it's going to absorb you away from all these things, or bad association, right? Yesterday we were having nice, beautiful kirtan, and this kirtan is actually elevating us to a different level of consciousness, and that is very important. Just the power of the holy names. That is why we always say Harinama, Harinama, Harinamaiva Kevalam. Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. There is no other way by which we can overcome. Only by the grace of Lord Chaitanya that these holy names are coming to us. And so we need to take that. And it is a serious business. Bhagavatam, serious business. Bhagavad Gita, serious business. Understanding Krishna consciousness and practicing Krishna consciousness, serious business. Why? Because this is our lifestyle. Otherwise, we will end up doing something which is unnecessarily needed for us because we don't have much time. Where is the question of speaking to anyone and everyone and then wasting our time? When you get some time, you should just deep dive into all these holy scriptures. And when you don't get time, see how you can generate that free time. That's the idea. Bhaktivinoda Thakur Mahasaya used to actually complete many of his court cases in such a short period of time, when other judges and all of them used to take many months together to complete a case. He used to club everything together and give one judgment and then disperse off, and by which he could spend more time understanding the spiritual practice. So that's the power of the Lord. That's the power of the wonderful devotees. And these devotees are not someone very cheap kind of thing. They are extraordinarily merciful. They have just come as a costless grace to us. By their own will, they have come here. Srila Prabhupada's present one was in this planet. It is like deterring the Kali Yuga effect on us. Just like Hanumanji's presence here as Chiranjeevi is still the impact of Kali Yuga is reduced because Hanumanji is present as Chiranjeevi. So like that, these are great devotees. We have to take whatever instructions they give us simply with two hands and then practice Krishna consciousness to the best of our abilities. Okay, I'll stop here. You have any questions, comments, or reflections? We'll take it from there.
Thank you, Prabhuji. It was a wonderful class. Very nicely explained about the purpose of ashramas, how to connect to Krishna to get the eternal happiness. Thank you. Anyone have a question? Any reflection, any comments? Anyone want to share?
Everyone has switched off their videos. That means you go your way, I'll go highway. Why are everyone switched off the videos? Is it something to do with they don't want anyone to see how they look in the morning? So you all can open your. We know who you are all, right? It's not something abnormality, right? So then what is challenged? Why should we not understand it? It's important. We have to connect. We are personal beings. We are not impersonal beings. Even though Zoom is Zoom, but we need to understand that we need to connect with the Supreme Lord through only personal, right? Bhagavaniti Sabhyate. Now everyone is showing their faces, at least to a larger extent. That means to say that we are all connected. We need to connect with the Lord, with the devotees, in the best of our abilities. Okay. Any other questions? If not, we are good with that. Any announcements? To my knowledge, I don't know about the allotments today, whether it's going to happen, but if someone is available, can touch base with Pratap Mahaprabhu. If I think he's not there in the group now. So that's a state as it stands. We'll keep you posted with any other announcements as it goes for the next week. Over to you, Manjusha Mataji. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you everyone for joining Sunday Mangala program. Okay.